Hey everyone, this is Cam Byrne and welcome to the first Fistbump Podcast of 2019. Firstly, I have to give an apology. Although we got off to a good start in 2018, towards the end of the year, life got in the way a little bit, and as well as some guests being unable to make it into the podcast over the Christmas period. So it's surprisingly hard to align my schedule with potential guests because I've got a Monday to Friday job, and many of the people that I want to interview aren't available after hours as they've got gyms to run, families to see, or fighters to train. So we've got a few guests lined up for the coming week, so hopefully I can get into a bit more of a rhythm with these episodes. Again, if you've got any suggestions on who you'd like to get onto the podcast, feel free to let me know. Today we've got Deon Perkins, who is a BJJ black belt and head coach at Perkins Jiu Jitsu out of Hammer's Gym in Nunawading. I've known Deon for about 8 years now. He was actually my first BJJ coach for about 6 years. I got both my blue and purple belt from him. He's an incredibly technical coach, and he's a Perkins Club, and the Perkins Club has grown both in size and skill under his guidance. So we talked through a lot of different subjects in this one. It's great to hear the strides he's making at the club. For those that are available in Melbourne, I'd really highly recommend going out and checking the club as well. We've got lots of great seminars with a lot of high-profile fighters, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and so on. So hope you enjoy this one. All right, we've got Deon Perkins with us. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very good. We just finished up with a pretty solid session here. Open mat.
Open mat, trying to make open mat great again down here at the club.
Had a few people down today.
Yeah, it was good. And as usual, you know, if Cornelius goes to sleep on the mat, you know open mats are rocking, right? Sorry, Corny.
How many people, because you just started up the strength and conditioning as well. I think you were mentioning it before, but how many people you got down there for the, I know it was the first class, but...
Oh, look, I grabbed a couple of our budding MMA guys, just two of those guys, Holly and Chris, and we got together and just to get it started, just to get it underway, so...
Yeah. So I suppose, first of all, I like to kind of for people that don't know who you are, can you give a bit of an understanding about who you are, what you do, how you got into jiu-jitsu, whether you started off with jiu-jitsu, did you start off with karate or something like that? Like, give a bit of an understanding how you got into the sport in the first place, or the art in the first place.
I appreciate you for correcting me.
I know, because you always used to correct me on it, so...
Yeah, So yeah, I've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for almost 23 years. Started back in Adelaide. Was with a group of friends. We were all doing stand-up at the time, karate. They were specialising in karate. I was doing taekwondo. You know, we were all following the Bruce Lee movies and all that stuff, which was around then. And lo and behold, you know, the video cassette started coming through, Gracie's in action, all this stuff, and we were just like amazed and shocked and blown away by these guys choking everyone, and as everyone was back then. And so we decided to give it a go, and became quite addictive, and we just sort of went from there. And
how did you guys find cause it seems like it's a common story amongst all the black belts that have been doing it for 20 something years. How was that video circulated? Because it seems like it's like back then there was VCRs and copies and stuff like that. There wasn't much internet.
Yeah.
Like you know, the internet was dial up.
One of our guys, yeah.
Like you're not going to download.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the guys, Matt Cannon at the time. He found it. He found a place to order it online, and he actually ordered an original VHS cassette. I'm not sure where, but obviously, you know, we were all into martial arts. These guys were a bit more into, you know, getting into the online stuff, which was only very new then, and I think they found it that way. So I just was there for the ride, you know.
It's pretty crazy though, because like just so many people. It seems like it's the story for every single person who's been a black belt for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, oh yeah, we saw like a ripped off VHS tape from someone, and then that just prompted them to start looking for jiu-jitsu clubs around, which there weren't many.
Oh, there wasn't.
And so it's like the people that have had to stick around have had a pretty tough time of actually learning technique from a reputable source as well.
Exactly right. Yeah, I remember we just decided, look, we're going to train this. How the hell do we go about it? We don't, you know, we've never seen this before. Is it a thing? And turns out it wasn't really a thing back in Adelaide. So we just started our own group, and one of the guys in our little group was, you know, more sort of coordinated and all the rest than the rest of us. He was just sort of better, naturally better at everything than us. So we appointed him our coach. And we just trained. And
does he still train?
No, unfortunately, no, he didn't. He come up with some bad luck and just sort of fell away from it. But yeah, unfortunately, out of most of those guys, there's not many of us left out of those originals. I still see one guy at the competitions, Matt. He's playing his purple belt now, and he was one of the guys I started with, so he's been around for a long time as well. But
so I'm guessing he stopped that whole like life getting in the way a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens to everyone. It's
yeah.
Just it's part of training. Things happen, I had a massive motorcycle crash years and years ago, more than a decade ago, and that took me out of jiu-jitsu for nearly 2 years. Couldn't walk, let alone train, so it took me a long time to come back to jiu-jitsu, but I was always going to. So
was that when you were purple belt?
No, it was actually before it. I was blue belt at the time, so I spent a long time on blue belt, but just because, a pretty serious motorbike crash. So.
And how did you get involved with Peter, Deon? Because I think from memory you were in Adelaide, and I think he told me that Peter found out that you guys were training, or one of you guys reached out to him, and that he came over, like he used to come over once every few months or something like that, show you guys a few techniques, and then you guys would basically just get together as a group and just keep training, basically?
Exactly right. I mean, one of the guys, Sean, actually called out. He went looking for jiu-jitsu coaches, and there wasn't many at that time, and we found Pete. And Pete he encouraged us. He said, look, get together, train, start your own little club, get it going. He goes, come visit me once a year or whenever you can, and I'll come over. And at the time, it was a different time because there was like one comp a year.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wouldn't be stacked divisions or anything. It'd be like 50 people.
It was like everyone made the pilgrimage from all around the country because it was the only comp in the country once a year. And as opposed to now, there's once every week.
Every month. Yeah, every month it's a big one.
Yeah.
And you've also got the smaller ones like the, what is it?
The Renegade.
Yeah, the Dominance ones.
Yeah. So we're pretty spoiled for choice now, but back then we definitely weren't spoiled for choice.
So before you actually had Pete cut, or before you actually had formal instruction, were you guys just getting into a position, just going, let's see how I'd get out of this? Like you were, like, because I'm guessing that wasn't the video that you probably got was just the Gracie in action stuff, but it probably didn't have any specific techniques, did it?
No, it didn't have heaps of technique in it.
So you just kind of dissected what they were doing and tried to emulate it?
Yeah, tried to emulate what they were doing, and then later on we started getting technique videos, and then obviously Pete would correct us and that here and there, and we sort of, I mean, a lot of it was fumbling in the dark, I guess, back then, but, it was all learning for us, so we were happy and having fun choking each other to sleep. And, And the challenge matches were still very alive then. So we pretty much every potential student that came into the gym at that time wasn't there to try out to train jiu-jitsu. They were there to try what they were doing against jiu-jitsu.
So you actually tried. So even though you guys didn't have any formal training in jiu-jitsu, the fact that you guys had probably done it for like, I don't know, a year or two, people would come in and just go, "This shit doesn't work," and then you'd.
Well, they wouldn't probably be that direct, but they'd come in and you could tell they were there to test out what they'd been doing. And, we had wrestlers come in and kung fu dudes. I'll never forget the guy that came in and he'd been training for years and years, and he was obviously really good at what he did. But after he got sort of taken down a number of times, you could just see the disappointment in his face and the rest of it, because he'd been training so long and hadn't addressed any of his ground game. And we invited him to stay and train, and he did, and he became quite good at it. So that whole, it was a different thing, it was still people didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were coming to train jiu-jitsu, they'd known about it. It was like they were coming to see what it was still. So
do you think there's because you were saying about you're watching like Bruce Lee videos and stuff like that, do you think there's still like Wing Chun, for instance, there's a lot of emphasis on like hand fighting, close combats and stuff, and Aikido has a lot of wrist locks and throws and stuff like that. Obviously with ignoring like judo and wrestling where they've got that heavy grappling focus, do you think some of those other martial arts like Kung Fu and Wing Chun and all those have anything that can be taught? Because I know that Eddie Bravo used to do Wing Chun. Yeah. And he used to say that circling out and all that kind of stuff he uses in a lot of his stuff.
Definitely,
anyway.
Yeah. I excuse me. I think there isn't really any style that doesn't have something to offer. I think everything's got a little bit to offer. And I'm not going to name any that I think don't, because I don't want to get bashed in the car park.
Yeah, I was going to say, prove it.
No, so I think everything has something to offer, and it's the more I train, the longer I train, the more I realise that most martial arts are pretty much trying to do the same thing. They're just going about it slightly different ways.
Yeah.
So I think everything's useful. Even if you're not going to ever use it, it's good to know what it is.
What about that like key fighting stuff where it's like all power, like energy, shields and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think you should have anything to fear with that. I think that if someone came into the middle of the car park and they're trying to charge up a Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha, I'm pretty sure you should be able to take that out.
I think you're pretty safe, but there's always that odd chance of what if one time it works,
shit,
and you just go up in flames and fly 2 miles away. Yeah,
and then we'll be putting this podcast up, going like, "Oh, we tried to warn him."
Yeah, damn it.
One of the things that stuck with me when I was training down at your gym, and it's something that there's two things that I'll bring up the second one in a second, but about small guy jiu-jitsu and how, like, if you're a bigger guy and someone's, let's say, on top of a mountain from you, you can just bench press them off, right? It's pretty simple. If you have to have pretty flawless technique to not be thrown off, for instance. But with a small person, the fact that you're constantly getting smashed by people that are bigger than you means that you have to rely on technique. And so if you do push yourself and keep going through jiu-jitsu and keep going, eventually you're going to be far more technical than someone who's probably bigger or has strength on their side or any other kind of physical attribute.
I think that's generally true, and probably truer earlier on. Still definitely plays a part, I think, because as a small guy, you've really got no choice.
Yeah.
And then obviously when we see bigger guys come to the gym, you're always trying to untrain them.
Yeah.
To get them to stop using that strength. Some are quite good at not using it, and we have guys that are massive down here, and they just play like super gentle because they're super keen on getting their technique right. So I think people have a better understanding nowadays, so you don't get, not always, just generally speaking, you tend to get the big guys try and learn technique now, but definitely earlier on. Yeah, definitely earlier on.
And that's not to say that strength or speed doesn't have something to, like, a place in it. Because, for instance, if I got you and then I got you 10 kilos lighter, same technical level, most likely the bigger, stronger one version of you most likely will win.
Yes and no. I mean, I think we can go a bit deeper than that. Like, there's strength, and then there's strength, and then there's also sort of how you apply it as well. So I don't think it's just a case of use strength or not. I think it's, you're right.
Your application of
your application, and also where and when and how you use it. So direct blunt force is normally pretty useless, but smart, powerful explosions in the right directions and angles and stuff that can help you a lot.
Yeah.
So I think nowadays it's you definitely need to be stronger and fitter, and plus it's you never want to lose, especially as a street situation. You don't want to get tired.
Yeah.
And so you need to have some physicality to you and conditioning and some kind of fitness. You can't just rely on technique, because if you do get tired, well, everything goes out the window then. So. And
that's something that I think, like, even when you were down in Ringwood, the strength and conditioning thing for you seems like it's a pretty big deal, because I know that you were doing pretty big into deadlifting and a lot of other things like that, but also cycling as well.
Yeah.
So trying to get your cardio up through mountain biking or just cycling in general.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's just a good way to go. There's a myriad of reasons why. Marcelo Garcia, he cycles a lot, and for him that's his his off training time. Yeah. So it's mentally relaxing, and it's just nice, no impact type training, just to smooth out the hard days, I guess.
Yeah.
And then
it's like that active recovery type.
Active recovery, exactly right. And then you've got lifting just to keep your body strong and help prevent injury, and fitness and conditioning is great because it gives you that. I think fitness and conditioning is a little bit deceptive, because people go, oh yeah, it's so hard on the body and that, but really I think you're probably training your mind more than anything, and building heart. It's about don't quit. You teach your body to do as it's told. Yeah. Your muscles are screaming, and you're just like, no, shh.
When we want to rest, we will rest,
but
not right
soon,
now.
But not right now. Yeah. So.
And when we used to do the strength and conditioning, that was, and actually even your grading sessions as well, it's like, I don't care if you get tapped 50 times. I genuinely don't care. Yeah. It's, you have to keep pushing. I want you to go for 45 minutes non-stop. Yeah. That's the only thing that I care about, the fact that you're not going to give up.
Yeah, well, you can't teach heart.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hyperfly.
Sorry, Raven.
You were just talking about injuries before. A while ago, I think your knees are pretty buggered just from years of it. How many injuries have you had overall?
Oh God.
I know it's a stupid question. How many debilitating ones that are pretty big?
I've had many injuries, very debilitating injuries, but I've always been a little bit Wolverine-ish, and just seem to heal up. And especially when the doctors tell me, oh yeah, no, that's knackered, you're never going to use it again. I go, that sounds like a challenge. Hold my beer, kind of thing. So. Many injuries. The motorcycle crash wasn't jiu-jitsu related, but I punctured my lung, I broke 8 ribs.
You punctured your lung?
Punctured my lung, 8 ribs broke, collarbone broke, shattered my shoulder blade.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh, it was bad, dude. Yeah, and came back from that, trained jiu-jitsu. Cut my hand off when I was 16.
Yeah, didn't you say that you ran into there was something where you either drove into or walked into a glass pane or something?
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I was at a community centre when I was young, and I ended up, long story short, going through the window. The glass door and window had been slashed from the outside with glass cutter, by some nut, and I just had to push on it, like, mucking around, being silly, and the whole thing collapsed, and took my right hand off, and I was 16 at the time, and I was just like, wow, this window's going to cost me like thousands.
That's what you're worrying about.
And then, got to the hospital, got it all put back together, and came out when I woke up, and it looked like a Frankenstein movie. It was rubber bands sewn into my fingernails and anchored up here
to keep the muscle,
keep the tension right, and try and keep the tendons alive and stuff. So I'll never forget that it was only probably a week or two later the doctor come out and they, been taking notes and all the rest of it, and he said to me, look, it's probably going to just claw up and you won't be able to use it ever again. And I remember just thinking straight away,
there's no way that's happening.
No way that's happening, dude. Like, I just laughed in his face and went, we'll see. And he gave me all the speech about doing physio with him and all the rest of it, and I just basically went and did my own thing. I didn't do any physio at the hospitals or anything. And
how long does it take you to recover from that kind of? That would be years.
Oh, that was at least 5 years before I could say I was probably pretty well recovered from.
Like 80 to 90% of what you were at before. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a pretty serious injury, particularly like jiu-jitsu. It's so grip centric.
Exactly right. So look, like I said, there's skateboard injuries. Tore my groin off the bone at brown belt.
Good God.
That was horrible, because I don't know if you've had a groin injury, like, you literally blink your eye and it's agony. So that was terrible. That put me out for a long time. And then obviously the knee exploded. Yeah. And had the knee reconstruction. I needed it for a long time. I'd been really hacking away at that knee, and then finally it went. And so they did an arthroscope, cleaned it all out, did the full knee reco, and it's actually better than it ever was. Yeah? Yeah, it's really, really good now.
That wasn't a few years ago, though, wasn't it? Like 5 years ago?
No, not quite that long. So it's probably about 3.5, 4 years now. But I've got full range of movement. It's strong as anything.
I remember you went back to training pretty much, not training, sorry, physical training, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, but like back into lifting and everything pretty quickly to try and strengthen up the area as well.
Well, I followed a program from the New South Wales soccer surgeon who does apparently the guy does 11 ACLs before breakfast. Yeah. So I followed his program back to full sport playing in 10 months. And it just worked really well for me, because I'd done a shit ton of prehab beforehand as well, so the knee was quite good before the surgery time came around, and then the rehab was easier because of that. So, it's look, I'm always sore. I'm old now, and everything's sore and hurting all the time. But as long as I eat a lot, when I need to, and train properly and don't do dumb stuff, it seems to be working. So a few more years, hopefully.
Is the other knee all right?
The other knee's good. Yeah, both knees are good now. So.
That's sick.
It's just my back and my pride and my heart.
My shoulder and my elbow and my wrist.
Fingers, neck.
So you've been at Hammers now for how many years?
So I was trying to think about this earlier. It seems it's longer.
3, 4?
I'd say it's just over 3. Yeah, it'd be 3 and a bit.
Has there been a lot of cross training between the Muay Thai guys?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. As soon as we came here, firstly Mark was fantastic. We really think about martial arts the same way. Like, train hard, have fun. Discipline. Don't be a dick. Simple stuff, like the original martial arts stuff. And he carries the same values, so that worked really well with us. And then we started getting, some of the Muay Thai guys would come over and train. There was never an animosity between styles, which I've experienced in other clubs. The Muay Thai guys here are super cool, and we know them all and very good friends with them all, and vice versa. And some of our jits guys started training Muay Thai, which was beautiful. People use the gym. There's a lot of, just getting around everywhere. It's a good community. And then we started the MMA classes, and that really made a difference as far as, now we've got a group where the Jiu-Jitsu guys and the MMA guys, the Muay Thai guys come together and they train.
It's almost like that overlapping training kind of thing.
It's an overlapping, exactly right. So the two circles now come together and just cut.
But I think also the culture here is very similar to the culture that you had at all your Perkins clubs, and so it's just like that immediate kind of matching of sort of like, oh cool, you guys are exactly the same as us. Like we'll get the same mentality around this kind of stuff. Yeah, no, it's really good, and it's good to see the Jiu-Jitsu guys, supporting the Muay Thai guys in whatever they do, and then vice versa. So it's a good vibe down here at Hammers Gym. We're happy to be a part of it. So, and we were talking about it before, but so how many classes do you have now? And you've obviously got the focus for beginners and then some MMA ones. What are all the different classes you've got here now?
So we've got a pretty decent structure now. I mean, we're always trying to tweak it to make it optimal, but at the moment we run a basics class which is fully syllabized in self-defense and also just fundamental jiu-jitsu to get them going. Normally by the third strike, we tend to kick them up the arse and try and get them rolling in the other classes, which normally works quite well. We've got 2 no-gi sessions. We've got wrestling with Trent Thiesens, who's a fantastic wrestling coach. We've got plenty of gi, just general gi. What else we got? I think that covered everything. Yeah, wrestling. Oh, we've got MMA as well. And then on Friday nights, they have a massive sparring night where it's inter-club. So other clubs come down.
Every week?
On Friday nights, yeah. So that's good for the stand-up guys and the MMA guys. They get into that, and it's pretty serious level sparring. Yeah, I'm not getting in on that.
So that's like an open mat for everywhere.
Well, it's I wouldn't say it's an open mat.
Is it competition structure?
It's Mark structures it, so okay. It's very high level sparring for the top end guys, and Mark oversees that, and he's very direct on how he wants it run, which is good because it keeps everyone in line and makes sure no one gets hurt. But they do spar like pretty seriously. They don't muck around, and it's good. The MMA guys really need that. Yeah. And then they can come at open mat on Saturdays. And just do their own thing. Yeah. They can do jiu-jitsu or whatever they want. And the open mat's great because it's we love having guys visit from other clubs as well, like yourself and anyone else that wants to come down. It's an open mat. That's exactly what it means. So yeah,
because I think when they were down at the other Hammers club, like a few hundred meters down there, they had the inter-club there, and it was one run fantastic. It was like right from the start, the rules were, guys, we're not in the UFC championship here. Like, of course you're going to be sparring, but we're not.
It's not a dojo store.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a dojo store, but it's also not just like light touching. You're going to be touching each other, but don't go crazy here. Like we're being respectful here.
Yeah. And I think that's important. Especially when there's mixing clubs. You've got to keep that respect level up, and you're not just being respectful of the club you're training at. You're representing your club as well. And you don't want your club to come across like a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, of course.
That's important. So no, look, it works really well. Mark runs it really well, and we're seeing the benefits already in our MMA guys level. So. Good times.
And you guys, because of like this gym, for people who haven't seen it, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like what they've actually got here.
It's pretty Star Trek.
Yeah, I've never seen a gym like this. Even if you go to like a Gold's gym or something like that, it's still like that might have a bit more breadth in terms of weightlifting equipment and stuff. But in terms of what you can actually do here, it's ridiculous. Like we're sitting inside the cycling room here, which I didn't even know was here because this place is so big.
So this is the cycling and yoga room, which is great. I love having the yoga next to the jits mats because I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of pretty ladies that do yoga. Sorry, Jodie.
She does it as well, yeah?
Doesn't do the yoga.
That's you. I was trying to give you like a way out there, but you kind of just put your foot into it really bad.
Yeah. You can edit this, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There's so much here on offer. Obviously, Muay Thai, karate, got our jits, wrestling, yoga, spin, cardio, weights, fitness conditioning, 45-minute circuits. It just goes on and on and on.
But also because of the quality of the place, you get phenomenal people here like Anderson Silva, and I think you've got Leticia Ribeiro coming.
So we've got Leticia Ribeiro coming in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I believe. We had Kurt Oziander, which was absolutely fantastic. The guy's a lunatic. He's me and him are kindred spirits. There's ways about it.
And then you also had Flores.
Ray Florio's coming, so he's a weapons expert, and he'll be doing a more street defence type thing, given today's climate on the street. We all know what's going on, so I think arming yourself and using martial arts for what they're for, to protect yourself and your family and friends, is really important nowadays. So that's going to be great, and the more we sort of get these seminars happening, the more we can have more. So, they just sort of snowball. So it's been really good being able to host some of these people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hopefully, if we get a good turnout for Leticia Ribeiro, I'm not going to say who's coming soon, but we've got another one on the cards, and it'll be nuts. It'll be nuts. So,
I was hoping like Fistbump exclusive, and like put some like sound effects or something, and you could say it, but no.
I'm not going to say it because if he doesn't come, that'll be shit.
Yeah, that's true. So you want to be able to prove that you can get the numbers to it first, so that you can kind of go, hey, like we can do this.
Yeah, well, the seminars are funny. They're fickle things. Like if you don't get a good turnout at one, well, you probably won't get the next one.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep them sort of full and bouncing along, the next guy down the road's happy to come and do the seminar. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good because they're all really nice guys as well, and it's nice to meet them, and you finally put a real face on the person. So And Letitia Rivera's an animal. I can't wait. I've been a massive fan of hers for years. Like, her passing style's off the chain.
You see some of her drills on Instagram, it's ridiculous.
Damn.
Yeah.
The girl can move.
Yeah.
And
no wonder she dominates. Like, she's practicing every day. Like,
and all her students dominate as well.
Yeah.
Like Bea Mosquito and there's a couple others. They're just animals. Like, no, they're awesome.
That's
Credit
awesome.
where it's due, man. They're awesome.
That's sweet. I was going to say, I was having a look. So I think I saw Chris and Liam get stripes on their belts recently as well.
Yeah.
So are you a 3-stripe at the moment?
No, I'm a 2-stripe.
Two-stripe.
So I've been on the black for 6 years. Those boys got their first stripes. And then we've also got Brian Hurley. We just got to catch up with him. He's kind of busy, so he's got parent-teacher interviews and interpretive dancing and whatever.
Interpretive dancing. And that's not even a class. That's just him walking to school.
That's just him walking around. So he's actually up to his 3rd Dan, so he'll be Professor Hurley.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. So yeah.
How many black belts do you now have at the club?
8.
That's sick.
Yeah. So we're really lucky. I'm not going to lie. Like, you know, these guys, they've been super loyal. They've hung around. They've trained with me for years and years and years and years. And you know, it's not so much that I've brought them up to that. They've done their own job, but we've all just stuck together, and it's just the way it's worked out, which is really nice. So it means we can have a really diverse coaching group as well. So we'll theme our general classes to say, mount position for 3 months, and then the students will just get mount from every angle, every facet from several different coaches. There's so much of it over those 3 months.
Which is great as well, because it'll be different body types, it'll be different weights, it'll be different, everything. Like if you have you on top versus Jake or Chris or something like that, it'll be completely separate focuses there.
Yeah, so, and everyone's got their own little different take on it, different flavour, so it's nice to be able to encourage that sort of diversity in that. So.
But also having it as a theme as well means that for 3 months, you're just going to be focusing just on that bit.
Yeah.
It's going to make you a killer in that area.
Yeah, you definitely see the results. There's no two ways about it. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How many people you got at the club now?
Oh, look, last count.
Like 50, 100, 200?
Wouldn't be 100. We're quite a small club, but maybe 60 or 70.
It's pretty solid.
It's not too bad. Fluctuates, people fall in and out of jiu-jitsu nowadays. It's not like it used to be where you put your belt on and you were there forever. People move around and change jobs and switch clubs, and that's all right. That's fine. Whatever.
But it just means that number is always going to go up and down.
Goes up and down. Yeah, it's a bit of a bathtub. A bit of water splashes out, a bit of water splashes in. So.
I was going to say, because there's probably numerous answers to this question, but does one come to mind about when you've actually had to use jiu-jitsu in a street defense situation?
God.
Because I know a few that you've told me about, but I just want to see if there's one particularly that jumps to mind.
There's many times. I'm not a bad guy.
Excluding all mosh pits that you've been in.
Mosh pits out. Okay,
that's half.
That cuts out a few. Look, probably the one of the funniest times was. We were driving along, me and Jody, my partner, who's a brown belt, and we had the kids with us. And we were actually picking up a dog from a breeder. So it was out in the middle of nowhere, and we were coming back, and there was a car on the side of the road with some kids. When I say kids, they're probably 20, but that's kids. Yeah. On the side of the road, and they looked distressed, like there was something going on, and we thought, well, we're a bit older than them. If we can stop and help, we'll stop and help. So we pulled over, and quite quickly we realised that they were on their way back from a festival, and they were quite drug-induced and drunk, and they weren't handling it very well, and particularly one young lady who was on the ground, and she looked to be in trouble. She was unconscious and stuff like that. So my partner is also a nurse at the time, so she's gone to the aid of the young lady, but her boyfriend was getting quite aggressive and unruly and wanted us to leave and all the rest of it, but it was on a major highway. There was trucks going past at 100 k's an hour plus, and it was a really dangerous situation for them. So we decided, look, we're not going to leave them. We'll stay till police or ambulance arrive.
And they were probably freaking out by the fact that you were waiting for police or ambulance to arrive.
They were freaking out, and I was trying to calm them down and trying to calm the boyfriend down, and he had mates there, and I was worried about them turning on us as well and all the rest of it. And anyway, long story short, I just happened to catch out the corner of my eye the guy running at Jody, who was bent down, sort of taking care of the girl, and he was running to soccer kick her in the head.
What?
Yeah, and I just happened to catch it out the corner of my eye, so I've managed to turn and step in between them and shove him flying. And I, as I shoved him, I've sort of grabbed onto him, and he's grabbed my arms, and we're doing a bit of a dance away from the situation, so that was all right. At the time, my knee was really bad, and we're doing this dance off down the side of the road into the bush bit, and perfect timing. I've trod right in a bit of a hole. My knee's gone wobble out to the side, and I've had to sit down. That's the only choice I had, was to sit down to like a guard. So I pulled him down onto a hook, managed to hook sweep him, come up on mount.
Like a Tominagi type?
Yeah, like a sort of half Tominagi.
Yeah.
And I've come up on mount, my knee's pulsing, and as I come up on mount, his mates are running directly at me, and I've sort of just thrown my hips right under this guy's arms and sat up tall like I'm going to murder him, and just said to his mates, like, step back, or your mate's going to cop it. So I managed to control them using him. And then I got up and limped away from it, in a lot of pain. But even with a bad knee and heavily outnumbered, just keeping my calm and staying on top and using the position, which was all I used to diffuse it. I managed to calm everything down, and everything sort of settled after that, and then everything was fine. But
did the cops or anything turn up?
They turned up in the end. The ambulance came, and we were quite happy to leave at that point, because my knee was
over it as well.
And over it as well.
But trying to help you.
It happens. That's normally the way it is. Those sorts of situations. People don't want the help.
Yeah.
But they need it. Someone was definitely going to step out on the road, or someone was going to get hurt or whatever. So, that's why you become a martial artist, right? I remember when I was a kid, you'd see this is always a funny thing to say. People laugh when I say it, but I remember as a kid seeing, policemen or guys in army uniform or whatever, or in a gi, and you'd be like, as a little kid, wow, those guys are like heroes, and if I was ever in trouble, I know I could run to those guys for help, and I still carry that with me. And as a martial artist, I think we should be like the pillars of society a bit. And if you do see people in trouble, you should help. You shouldn't turn a blind eye. So much of that goes on these days, and I think that's why a lot of bad dudes do what they do, and because they can get away with it.
Because no one's going to challenge them.
No one's going to challenge them or anything, and I think that needs to change if we're going to become more human again. Yeah. So anyway,
I remember you telling me that as well.
Yeah.
A long time ago. I think it's true. You see a fight, two guys fighting in the middle of the street or something, and it's coming to pushing or something. You can probably get in between them and go, "Come on, guys."
There's always there's always an element of something untoward happening to you, but I think a lot of that stuff goes on, or opportunist stuff where guys will rob old ladies of handbags and stuff. That happens in broad daylight because they know no one's going to say anything or challenge them. And I think we get back to looking after each other again. That stuff will minimise a bit, maybe.
You're right though that it does. Like it's one of those things you put yourself a little bit of a date. Like I think there was something where I was in a club at once and two guys were like pushing each other. And I kind of separated. I'm like, come on, guys, I'll grab you a drink. Just like chill out for a second. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys like started pushing me, thinking that I was the other guy's mate. I'm like, I don't even know this fucking guy. I'm just trying to like make sure you don't get thrown out of here. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll just take the drink then. I'm like, oh, whatever, I don't care, mate. Just chill. Yeah. But like there is that misunderstanding that can happen in a split second where the guy is like, oh, some guy's pushing me. He's probably on the other guy's side.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then you can go that one step further where I remember having to choke a guy out in a pub once, and he was going nuts. He was trying to kill people with chairs and all the rest of it. So I put him to sleep and I sat him against the wall and sat with him. And as he woke up, he sort of turned to me and looked at me, and I'm looking at him waiting to see what he's going to say. And he just turns and looks at me and goes, "What happened?" And I just said, I remember saying to him, "Oh, you were being a dickhead, so I put you to sleep." And he goes,
"Thanks."
Oh. And I was like, "Do you want a beer?" And he's like, "Yeah, cool." So we just went up to the bar and had a beer, and everything was completely different afterwards. So it's a funny thing.
It depends on what energy you're putting out. If you were just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like he would have been.
They would have just emulated it. So, but I think after the sleep, after a little nap, they sort of feel a lot better about life.
I do as well.
Yeah, a bit of stress washes out.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a dream about the cat or something.
I suppose one of the last things I was saying that like there's something that stuck with me for a while that you said when I first started, and it shit me at the time, and then over years it's kind of been like that actually makes sense a lot, and I probably should have listened a lot more. I think it was like I said something like, "How do you get out of a triangle?" And you said, "Don't get in there in the first place."
That's so courteous.
And at the time I was like, that's not in any way practical help, and it's not helping me at all. I'm in a triangle getting choked, and you're just like, "You shouldn't have been in there." Yeah, thanks. Like
it's a bit like that.
But it's so funny because like as I've kind of trained a lot more, it's one of those things that you realize that you can be safe in a lot of positions and only go when you like. It's almost like talking about what you were saying before about exploiting at certain moments and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You can be very defensive and make sure you don't get caught in stuff and just have good posture and good positioning and stuff like that. And you won't actually be exposed to 90% of the things that people can try and catch you with that are opportunistic almost.
It takes a bit to understand that. It's like I say that to guys to try and get them to work it out themselves. And obviously, you've come to the understanding, and it just means, if you're getting put in triangles a lot, there's probably something happening well before that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like
It's not
maybe
about-
a certain guard pass that you like using is going to be like you've left one arm out and therefore they're just going to snap it up.
And we've all been there.
Yeah.
I remember being in many comps when I was younger, passing the guard, and I used to pass like knee slice through, and the guy, I'd let him put his hand in my collar, and I'd start passing, and next thing I'd wake up, and I'd be like, did I win? And I'm asleep. I've been asleep. I'm like, what the? And this happened over and over. I just couldn't work it out, and it was because I wasn't addressing the choke hand at all.
Yeah.
I was just so confident that I was passing, and I worked it out. I worked out my own advice.
The hard way.
I was like, I've been saying that to people for how long, and it took me a while to work it out. So anyway, it makes sense in the end.
It's good advice though. It's one of those things that like it's at the time it comes across as sort of like duh, but then when you're actually doing it for a while, you're like, if I should.
I think a lot of the times it's the way I say stuff too. Like my brain is just really weird, and I say some simple martial arts fundamentals, but the way I say them, I just make them so bizarre. There's the old favourite. What is it? If it looks like you're trying to shit your pants, you're probably trying to do it wrong. Unless, of course, you are trying to shit your pants, in which case proceed. Which just means
it sounds like a Kurt Hacienda quote as well.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Well, it
could
just
be
means
either of you two.
If it's really fucking hard to do and you're gritting your teeth, you're probably going about it wrong.
Yeah.
You're probably using too much power, not enough leverage or angle or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one, the classic one, is fast is slow, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And people just, that one gets people all the time. But it's an age-old thing. It's just the way I say it's a little bit different. But it just means fast and frantic won't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Smooth, it will get you there fast. So it's a standard thing, but I just say shit really weird to make people confused.
People remember it though.
Makes sense to me.
It's been 7 years and I remember that. Just don't get in there in the first place.
I know, right?
All right. Well, anyway, thanks very much for jumping onto the podcast, mate. Really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Anytime. Thanks for having me. Keep training. Real quick, just like to say big thanks to Hammer's Gym, obviously. Raven Fightwear, get their stuff. It's awesome. Perkins Jiu Jitsu, you want to come and train? Come and have a train with us. We love visitors. So listen to Cam's podcast because he's a good guy.
If you're listening to it, you're already taking Deon's advice, which is quite
I know, right?
weird.
You preempted it. I love it. That's what we were talking about before.
Yeah, preempted. Exactly. It's like a cycle. It's a circle of life.
It's so shishishu.
Thanks, mate.
No worries,
Cheers.
brother. Thanks, heaps. Oos.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. This podcast is just getting off the ground, so if you liked what you heard, please consider rating us on iTunes, liking our Facebook page, or subscribing on YouTube. And if you've got any other comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to post me up on the Facebook page, and we'll try to incorporate people's feedback.